Alright, in this video I'm going to be showing you the general overall thing that you're going to be doing in the assignment, and then we'll go into the step-by-step stuff. Okay? So in this assignment we're going to be developing that. It's a patch with a merrowed edge. Okay? In order to do that, there's several steps. The first step is to gather the materials. We got this fabric, and it could be any fabric really. And then this stuff is the non-tearable, I can't tear it, material for embroidery. It's a backing material. In step 2 of the assignment, you're going to be developing a shape. Now, in the next assignment, called the 3-color patch, you're going to be using that shape. So you can't do a circle, you got to do a shield. We're going to be doing a mock-up job for a biker patch, and it's a 3-color patch. They want it on a shield shape. So in step 2, you're going to be finding the shield shape. Where do you find it? Well, you can look in the next assignment, and you can look at the documentation and find the shields. I got a lot of examples of them. And then you're going to be making that shield in Adobe Illustrator. In Adobe Illustrator, you're going to have vector lines. Okay, those vector lines are very important. You're going to need to save it as an AI and an SVG. Okay, it'll go over how to do that. All right, now we can skip over to step 3. Step 3 is you just take this product right here, boom, Super 77, and you spray the white material and then lay it on top of the black material on a nice smooth surface, and you should get this combination of the two materials. So you're spray adhesiving them together. Make sure it's nice and smooth. You don't need a whole lot of the product, to be honest with you, so don't overspray it, and spray it over the garbage. That way it doesn't get all over the floor. Step 2, you had some vectors I mentioned. You're going to be using those vector lines to cut out the shape that you developed on the laser cutter. Yes. So you're going to take this over to the laser cutter and cut some shapes. You might have to learn about, what settings you're going to need, play around a little bit. So you might want to make 2, who knows, but play around until you get a nice cut shape. All right. Step 5 and 6 are in the video. 5 is being able to make the stitches in Stitch Era. It's a program that we use for embroidery. And step 6 shows you how to hoop glue. Step 7, you're going to be running the job. It is the same way that you did the last assignment, where you did these cool kanji. So you're going to be running it the same way. It's a little bit different in the fact that you now have to embroidery on top of the glue, put the shape down, and then embroidery right on top of that shape. So there is a few extra steps, but loading it into the machine as far as a job is concerned is the same as this assignment. So I put a link to that assignment, this one, in the documentation just in case you need to review it. All right, step 8. So step 7 has a finished patch, but has these stitches that are very vulnerable. And this glue allows me to bond it to a surface, but the glue don't go to the outside of the edge. So that's what we have to repair. We have to cut another circle out of this material, this glue, and then we're going to be putting it on the back of this using the heat press. Now you'll have the glue that goes all the way to the edge, and you'll have this cool little backing, and now you have a finished product. All right. So if you did it right, if you did the shape and everything else, you'll be all set up for the next assignment, which is a 3-color patch. you'll be doing the same process over, but this time you'll have something that goes on top of that 3-color design. So this is the introduction video. I hope you enjoyed, and let's get on to the steps. Okay, so we begin in Adobe Illustrator. For this example, I'm going to be showing you a round patch. For yours, you might have a different shape, but it's always the same process. No matter how complex the shape is, it always works. Let's go to Illustrator. Let's go New. So I'm going to be using a 4-inch hoop in this example. So it's small, it's easy to do, it kind of shows you right off the bat. So whatever size hoop you're going to be using, make that size in Illustrator. Be making a 4-inch document. Then I'm going to be making a 3-inch circle. So I would highly suggest whatever shape you're making, get 1 inch smaller than your hoop. Place that in the document. Okay. Now I'm going to make another one of these. I'm just going to use Alt, click and drag. And I can actually put this on top of this one. And you can see that it has the center, that little pink thing in the center. If I get it just perfect. I'm using Alt and Shift on the keyboard. Make this a little bit smaller. Right about there. And roughly 1/4 of an inch in. Doesn't have to be super accurate because you're going to be adjusting everything on the embroidery software. So that's it. Got your outermost edge of whatever shape you have, and then a 1/4 inch one on the inside. That's it. So now we save that as an SVG. And you would save that to a flash drive. We'll call that patch. Name it whatever you want. So you want SVG 1.0, SVG, and the rest of this information. Make sure everything's checked. There we go. So now we're going to be taking this SVG flash drive out to the embroidery software, then plug your flash drive in, and next step. All right, so in this section of the video, I'm going to be jumping between Adobe Illustrator to the Stitch Era software. So I just want to make sure that you know that when you bring it into Stitch Era, that the size is going to be off. So back in Illustrator, you need to know these numbers no matter what shape you get. So when you highlight your shape, highlight the overall shape, the very outside edge, make sure that it's all highlighted, and just write down these numbers. 3-inch by 3-inch. Okay, in this case it's 3-inch by 3-inch, but you could have 5 by 7, 4 by 3, whatever. But you need to write down these two, just your width and your height. Write that down first, and then you can go over to Stitch Era and then bring in your vectors, which I'm going to be showing you how to do that in the next part. All right, so I'm capturing this using a Mac onto a Windows. So pay no attention to these icons at the very bottom. They have no relevance. The Windows machine starts right here and ends right here. And there we go. Take the SVG and place it on the desktop of the computer that has the software on it. And then head over to catalogs. Okay, I can page over to desktop, and now I have this. I can click and drag this out, and boom, there it is. Now before we begin, let's close out this window. We're going to have to make it the right size. You can see right here, here's a 2-inch mark. Obviously this must be an inch, but it's definitely not the right size. So what we do is go to layout, and right now it came in at 0.85 by 0.85. This is where you change it right here. You leave this locked. Okay, make sure that you keep this little lock on, and then you type in this size that you had back in Illustrator. So 3 by 3. 3, enter, and it should be all right. So now we can zoom out, and to zoom out in this program, which is going to be fun because I'm on 2 different machines. Oh, got it. Wheel mouse in my case. So wheel mouse zooms in and out. All right. So now that we have the vector artwork in here, we should have over here an ellipse, an ellipse. Okay, there's 2 ellipses. You can't see the other one because it's on top and it's black also. Okay, so we can work with that though. It doesn't really matter for this step because it's super easy. We've already did most of the legwork already. We just need the 2 shapes. It doesn't matter what color they are. Just know that there are 2 shapes in here, and it shows over here also. Cool. So I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go to Auto Complete. Okay. Then I'm going to go over to Embroidery, and I'm going to choose Path. This will make a running stitch. So this one right here. Okay. First I highlight the outside shape. You can see the little ants go marching on around the outside edge. You can kind of see that in the video hopefully, but if not, it's there. And then I hit return on the keyboard. Boom. So now I have 1 running stitch. Good. All right, let's make one more. So this time I'm going to try to click on the innermost shape. You can see the ants a little bit easier. And then I'm going to hit return on the keyboard. Good. All right, now we need 1 more of these. In order to do that, you got to close this one out. Go to embroidery. This time we want path, and we want a path with zigzag. Okay. Notice it's not giving me the option to highlight the shape. So that's not good. So let's go back. In this case, I need to be able to highlight this shape. Okay, how do I do that? I go to Select Object. I select the shape. This time I'm going to select it over here. It should give me the option to have vector if I do it right. Okay, I highlighted this one and it gave me the autocomplete again. So I have to go back to autocomplete. Boom. Now when I go to embroidery and I go to path and I go to path with zigzag, bam, this pops up. Good. That's what we want. All right, we want to highlight the outermost shape this time and then hit enter. And there we got this. All right, now we just have to give this a little bit of a tweak. You notice that the stitch starts here and ends here. We want these little holes to be here. So in order to do that, we can offset it. And as we raise this offset, it will slowly move that stitch. If it's not moving, we can highlight it over here and then try to readjust this. Slowly, 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 you can adjust this. Now, what's the number, right? Well, I find about 92%. In this case, a little bit higher. And I can make some fine adjustments using these arrows. And what I want to do is just get those holes right on the edge, right there. Perfect. That's really good. So 98% in my case. That's not always the case, however. All right. The next thing we need to do is make this wider so it covers over this stitch. All right. How do we do that? Well, that's width. So we up the width. How much? Doesn't matter, really. I mean, just as long as it's covering over that stitch. Okay, how do you know it's covering over that stitch? Well, you can go like this, and you can see that stitch. In this case, I went really bold this time. That's okay. All right, next. We want to do an underlay. Okay, in this type of underlay, I want either this one or this one. I think I'm going to do the double zigzag. So what this will do is make it poofy. And I'm going to leave the density at 0.8. Later on, you could change this to 1 if you want to play around with how poofy the outside edge is. And that's how you do it. So some things that you can change to make it look different. Okay? That's what these are. So the zigzag, if you go to the body, you can change the density. And the density will make it a little bit bolder. To see what it looks like right now, we can drop this down to 3D. You can kind of see there's some spacing in here. So we could change this to, let's say, 5.3. That might tighten it up a little bit. Good. I like to be back in normal just to get an idea what that looks like. And yeah, that looks good. All right, to prep it for export, we just go like this. We make sure that we have the start point. And then we have an end point, which is going to end point at last section. And then we center the design. Boom. All right, now we can export just like we did before. Export. I would save it to a folder on your desktop. Okay, in this case, I'm going to call it patch. The reason why we want to do a folder is because there's technically 2 files that you need to keep track of. See, in this folder, these 2 files need to go onto the flash drive. So this is the same thing that we had to do before, is running the job. You need to load it into the machine the same way as you did the last assignment. And then in that case, we are going to be using the last video on how to load it into the machine to get that knowledge. Okay. Once you have it in the machine, once you have it loaded into the memory, then keep watching this video on how to run this job. Alright, so this is how you hoop glue. Okay, so this is the glue, and you can see that it comes with a backing, just like that. There is a rough side, and then there is a non-rough side. So we're going to be able to first take this off, okay, and we need a rough side up. Alright, so now what you do is you take your hoop, and you get kind of a fitting first, just like, so for example, I have the hoop, and I can go like this and sort of tighten this. I should be able to have it come off though, pretty easy. Okay, and you're gonna probably adjust this a few times to get the right feel for it. It's obvious I can't translate the feel over to a video, but kind of see the little gap right there. So that gap is probably going to be the same thickness as this, which is really thin. Oh, this. All right. So you put the hoop down, you put the rough side up. Boom. And I'm going to get on the other side of this little table and do this next step. So you'll put it over the top of it, and with one swift blow, you'll go like that. And you can adjust it by just pushing this little ring up. Now if you do it right, it should be like a drum head. Nice and taut. Okay, if you feel that it's got too much wave in it, this might have just a little bit too much wave, you would loosen and do it again and again and again until it's nice and flat and it is very taut. You could do it 1,000 times. It's gonna look a little rough if you try to do it 1 or 2 or 3 more times, but it doesn't really matter. Again, go like that. That time went a lot better. Nice. All right, there we go. That's how you hoop glue. All right, to run this job, all you would have to do is first, like just like the last assignment, you would put it into the memory of the embroidery machine. The only difference here is it's a 2-step operation where you're going to need these cut out already. Okay, you're going to need whatever shape that you have cut out. You're also going to need this spray. Okay, and you'll end up spraying the back of this. Just like that. Okay, so it's sticky. And I'll put that right here. And then we run the job. We've already done the contour check. We've done everything else. Best to just run a contour check one more time. I always run the contour check like 4 or 5 times just for fun. Okay, see how it didn't go back to 0? That's a bad thing. So we're going to have to put it back to 0 and rerun the contour check. It does that every once in a while, but you must go back and set it to start. Okay, rerun the contour check if that happens. This time it went back to 0, so that's a good contour check. All right, so the next part, we're just going to run the job, but we're going to have our hand on the stop button, not the emergency stop, but the red stop button right underneath start. So we're going to hit start. We're going to wait for it to get done with its first line. This is going to be our outline. Okay, now we're going to hit stop. And now we have an outline to place our round circle in. I'm just going to give it one more coat of the sticky stuff. So we're going to lay this down inside that outline. Boom, that's it. So now hit start again. The next stitch sews it to the glue. And now it'll do that outside edge. So it's going to do an underlay to make it poofy. And then after that, it'll do the outside edge. All right, now that it's done, you could just take it out and you can see it has the edge. Beautiful, right? So what you're going to have to do now is put a piece of the glue on the back. Goes on like this. Okay. And you'll take this out of its frame. You'll just peel it. You can either peel it or cut it. Sometimes cutting is a little easier, but don't cut the threads. Cut as close as you can, but don't cut the threads. It's okay to leave a little glue on the outside. It's actually really good for when you go to transfer it over to a piece of fabric. But not much, like 1/16, 1/32 of an inch. All right, so now you put this little circle on. Let's see if I can find the camera. So this has that paper on. You can cut these out using the laser cutter too. But I left the paper on. The glue is on this side. I'm just going to go like this. And I'm going to put it in the vinyl press. All right, so if you're having a hard time putting that composition in the vinyl press, it's because this is kind of bowed up. See how it's bowed up? So what you could do is there is this over by the embroidery machine. It's a wood burner. You can just kind of like put this on the back. Like that, and what you do is you just press on the wood burner to the backing in a few locations. Doesn't have to be everywhere, just a few locations. And what that'll do, it will stick the glue to the back. So you got something like that. So you see I didn't put it everywhere, just in a couple places, and bam. So now it's stuck to the back of it, but it still needs to be in the heat press at this point with that Teflon sheet. All right, so the finished product looks like this. It has the backer ready to give the client. You can just peel that backer off, and then they can use a regular clothes iron to like heat set it to whatever jean jacket thing they might have. Oh, so that's the finished product for that assignment. Remember, you're going to have a different shape other than a circle, however. This is just an example of how it works. Hi.